Welcome to the Riga WNBA podcast. I am joined by Maitreyi Anantharaman of The Defector. She is a women's sports writer who is currently working on a book called You Can't See Me, inside the new golden age of women's basketball that chronicles the power shift in how players are valued in women's basketball. And today, I'm very excited for today's episode because we are doing a mashup of a WNBA preview coded to the Devil Wears Prada. The W Wears Prada, one might even say. In celebration of the new movie, the sequel, we're going to be previewing the WNBA season through the tinted, oversized black sunglasses that you can, if you're watching this on video, see on our faces right now. We will be judging. We will be trend forecasting. We will be looking at the long-term future of big characters like Kathy Engelbert, to the near-term future of Caitlin Clark, Paige Beckers, Angel Reese, Asia Wilson, and more. And while, like Andy, we all have to work on the content farm, we'll try to give you a little bit more than a WNBA fast fashion preview. I do have to admit, though, Maitreyi, watching Andy, a journalist navigating the financial decimation of her profession, I think a lot of people had an I'm in this movie and I don't like it feeling.
Yes. Are you, I have to ask, are you a person who types in the CMS?
I don't know what that means.
She does. Do you type your articles like in the thing? Or
no,
do you
I'm in Google Drive.
Okay.
Yeah.
I'm also I use Microsoft Word like the old lady that I am, and then paste. But I know some coworkers were inspired to see that they are
they're still
not alone
true,
in typing directly into the CMS.
I think that's bold. I would say, but if I was like on a CMS type platform, I would definitely be in some sort of document beforehand, simply because like I'm the type of person, if I have to send a risky text message, I'm in my notes app first.
Yes,
just
exactly.
Like, yeah, okay, we're on the same page there. Yeah. I did want to ask you, though, before we get to the WNBA front, because there were so many, is this play about us moments in The Devil Wears Prada, which is essentially a journalism movie masquerading as a fashion movie. Did you have moments where you felt particularly too seen?
Yes. The reporter friend that I saw it with and we were both remarking at the writer, like a male writer character who looks like literally every single one of our coworkers and is dressed like everyone we've ever worked with. And so we like immediately after the movie went online to find like a screen cap from the movie that we could send around.
Mm-hmm.
She was particularly struck by the scene of the kind of opening scene of Andy winning an award like at the same moment that she's laid off from a newspaper. So yes, lots of not so great moments of recognition in the movie for sure.
There were definitely some torturous moments. Did that guy even have a name? He was like emotional support journalism friend, wearing like a tattered button up and a New York Yankees hat and the same cocky he's had for 10 years.
That's why they left him nameless, is because they knew that we were just going to project our own
the literary license
and associates. Yes,
being taken there. That's very impressive in a movie full of Easter eggs. While I can't speak to the particular workplace trauma of working for a magazine. I've kind of always been on the digital side of things. There was a moment where, Andy, she's doing all this smart work that nobody's reading because it's not fun or engaging or eye-popping. And her assistant basically says, well, maybe you need to find a way to make it both. And this is basically a movie that's doing that. It's like shoehorning all of these really interesting critiques about modern media in a fashion movie while having a character dealing with that very nuance. I am watching this movie, first of all, for my own enjoyment, but also because I am trying to make my podcast more fun. Oh, that one hit me. That one hit me in a place that I didn't really. I didn't feel good about it. Again, I'm in this photo and I don't like it. I'm Leo pointing at the meme, but I am squirming around. It was not a good moment. I needed my emotional support journalistic writer with me that I did not have. But But I do think this brings me to our first segment. I think a lot of the conversation around the movie is like kind of about the reproduction of art and trends. And this isn't too much of a spoiler because it happens like kind of right away. But the thing that brings Andy and Miranda together is a runway journalist being duped by a brand that's engaging in fast fashion. And it got me thinking, there's like kind of a nothing new under the sun nature to our jobs as well as sports writers, like the hot take artistry, the preseason predictions. There's a repetition and sometimes a sloppy reproduction that almost feels like a little IP driven, right? Like there's just natural repetition that is authentic, like the narrative framework of a new season and training camp and preseason and free agency. There's a lot of optimism. There's hope. There's uncertainty. Some of that stuff can feel authentic. I also do think that sometimes we do start to smell our own farts a little bit. So on that note, what I thought we could do is pitch each other our biggest preseason takes and try to figure out a way to workshop them. And essentially try to make our ideas sound less like fast fashion knockoffs and maybe more like an original piece. How do you feel about that?
That sounds great.
Okay. Do you have one to start?
I do. Mine is about the developmental player spot. I feel like I'm immediately like the scene where Andy is like commissioning her little climate change article that no one reads because I
love it. No, we're gonna spice it up.
My take that I've sort of been thinking about is I'm not sure that it looks like what people envision it being or like kind of what we idealize that developmental player spot being. I think like in my head before this all started, my image was of the like Pascal Siakam style dream where you have this like, two-way player who, slowly but surely becomes an NBA star for that team. And I'm curious to see how WNBA teams actually use their developmental player spot. You don't have to use it, I believe. So some teams may not use them at all. Mm-hmm. But I wonder if rather than it being let's keep this kind of raw young player around our team, I wonder if it sort of ends up just being a pool of like older players who are more of like a break glass in case of emergency. And so I wonder how much development is actually going to be done. This is sort of inspired, and maybe I'm overreacting here to the way that the Lynx used their prospect on Amasa Hoff, who is 29 years old. They used their spot on Amasa Hoff, who is 29 years old and has played in Europe and, does not have the WNBA service time. So it's like by the letter of the law would qualify for one of these spots. But I think is maybe not the imagined beneficiary of a spot like this.
Well, yes, I think the developmental roster spots, for anybody who doesn't know, they were added into the new CBA. Every team gets 2 developmental roster spots that don't count against the salary cap. And this designation was basically designed to ease the burden on players who aren't maybe necessarily ready to crack the rotation and help sort of tilt the scales in what we know to be a win-now league. And you're right, it hasn't necessarily played out the way that ideally you would want it to. And I think a big part of that is because a lot of franchises don't necessarily have the infrastructure yet to actually be able to develop players. I think that you're going to see the New Yorks of the world, the Valkyries of the world, the Phoenix Mercuries of the world that put a little bit more into scouting and player development, actually be able to benefit from it. But this feels like a Band-Aid over it. This feels like putting a I'm trying to stick with the sartorial metaphors here. Just throwing some Tide to Go on a really big stain and maybe throwing a jacket over it and hoping that it doesn't stink. But it still kind of stinks because, we're not, a lot of franchises aren't quite there yet, nor do they want to be. And when you talk about the Minnesota Lynx, that it feels like maybe they are kind of saving that, using that developmental roster spot as a break glass in case of emergency injury sort of designation, a sort of the extra outfit you have hung in your closet at work in case something spills. I'm thinking a lot about spill. I spill a lot of stuff on my clothes, it's interesting. Like, I think we're still at this place where, yes, there are basically like 50 new roster spots for young players, but not every team actually knows how to help young players or cares to. Cheryl Reeve, yes, drafted Olivia Miles, famously not really into the development of young players when she's trying to win a national a championship.
Yeah, and I mean, fair to her. I am otherwise like really impressed with how the links are working. You mentioned international scouting, which is a potential trend I love to talk about a little later. But yeah, I'm curious because I feel like there could be some big differences in how teams use those, and I am not sure how effective exactly it'll be.
Yeah. Okay. So how do we make this spicy though? I'm working through my head a little bit because I think this is interesting and you think this is interesting. And I think it inherently is interesting. I went to this speaks to the larger dysfunction of WNBA franchises angle, which is, while true, perhaps getting a little bit old. I think some of my listeners are sick of hearing it. Maybe there's a different angle to go about. Lost opportunities for young players, a sort of the road to hell is paved with good intentions, perhaps a reverse DEI sort of narrative. Not that I prescribe to that type of thinking at all. However, it does, it's worked out very well for people who aren't on my side of the political aisle. So I don't know. What do you think?
Yeah, so maybe we will see this used in surprising ways, I guess, is kind of a bit of a cop-out coward's take. But yeah, I think it's already not quite what I expected, and so maybe we'll see something a little spicy and different with it.
Yeah, maybe teams could find a really interesting way to use it as well.
Yes.
Yeah. What if you gave like a player that was injured a developmental roster spot that's like normally part of your rotation, and then you just kind of like keep them off of your cap and pay them under the table while like then kind of activating them for a playoff run?
New cap circumvention methods is also a thing to keep an eye out on.
I mean, hey, like cap circumvention, I don't think it's over just because of a new CBA. I think that teams are still going to find a way. Like, I think like a $7 million cap is still nothing to a lot of these billionaires. So I don't think we're done with that. All right, so I'll do my first one, which I think is my best one because it is it is backed up by fact, and I actually truly believe it in my soul. The only thing is I don't have a good title for it. So here goes. Caitlin Clark playing off the ball will be the best thing that has ever happened to her. Off the jump, best thing that has ever happened to her. Hey, but love the content. So I'm gonna ask you to help me workshop a title when I'm done here. So look, I think that there has always been sort of like this meta conversation around how much Caitlin Clark should play off the ball. Is this sheer notion of her playing off the ball a vast conspiracy designed to, temper her impact on the league up from from high up in the old guard? And if you are into YouTube AI slop, you might actually believe that to be true. However, I don't think that is because I don't think that Steph White is a double agent. I do think that she is a ball knower who, as a broadcaster, had a front row seat to what Caitlin did at Iowa. And she knows that sometimes the best way, like it is for Steph Curry in the NBA, to get Caitlin Clark the ball at the end of a possession is to have her give it up at the beginning. And there has been this, I feel like sometimes watching Indiana, it's this Iowa in molasses sort of feeling. And I was digging into the numbers, how much is she really on the ball? How much is she really off the ball? And the difference between Iowa and now is stark. I think that there's this conception because of how much of a singular force she was at Iowa, that she was just dribbling the ball up the floor every single possession. And that was not really the case. Iowa played the beautiful game. That's part of the reason that people fell in love with them. So the statistical part of this, In her senior year at Iowa, Caitlin Clark was a pick and roll ball handler 16% of the time. With the Indiana Fever last year, 36% of the time. That's a 20% jump. Isolation's about the same. She scored off cuts 5% of the time at Iowa, 1.8% of the time with the Indiana Fever. She's actually, in fact, only scored off of cuts, according to Synergy, like 6 times in her WNBA career. And you might be saying, skill issue. Not the case. Because I went back and looked at the tape, and she was a great cutter. She knows how to create counters off of ball denials and being top locked, which happens to her so much in the W. She also shot more spot ups in Iowa. She had more catch and shoot attempts. She shot more off of screens as well. And in Indiana, her creative burden is part of what has made her so overly encumbered. There is a sort of overly heliocentric Luka Doncic, Trae Young plotting, and everything relying on the one decision-making hub. And you get it because they're so smart, but it becomes predictable after a while. I also think that it's a source of some of the injuries as well, just to be taking on such a big load. So ultimately, look, what Stephanie White is trying to do is not take Caitlin Clark away from her game. She's trying to bring her back to it.
I like this take. Part of me can sort of understand why some people are very just up in arms at the mere mention of off-ball Caitlin Clark, because I think their mind immediately goes to she's just standing in the corner doing nothing. And I will concede that in the limited time that she played last year, that was sometimes what off-ball Caitlin would look like. And so I think some of it is just on her to make sure that off ball does not mean totally uninvolved or uninvolved at all. But I also it's hard for me to even look at last year and what were the circumstances? Playing off ball that requires lots of trust with your teammates, and how could she develop that in the limited time that she played? I think she spent so much time just injury rehabbing. I don't feel like we got a great. I think that's absolutely what Steph White wanted to do last year, but I also just I don't really think it was possible. And so I'm still really optimistic about what an off-ball role for her could look like, or what just more off-ball action for her could look like. You saw some of it in the preseason action. There was a really good possession where Aaliyah Boston brought the ball up. Caitlin sets this kind of mean screen, and she has so much gravity, and that's the thing, the things that she is good at, and I don't think that she has, like you said, she's a good cutter. I don't think she has she's strong. She doesn't have any real physical limitations or anything when it comes to stuff like this. And Aaliyah just has a wide open runway to the basket, and so I'm very encouraged by the idea. And the health is a big thing too. It's always funny to me that some people will correctly insist on the singularity of Caitlin Clark, and then just kind of be mad at the way she is guarded and defended. But that's why she is
go hand in
defended the way
hand. Yeah.
Yes, right. And so I think just especially with the seasons getting longer, the playoffs are getting longer, there has to be a kind of self-preservation focus for her, for really every star in the league and for every coach in the league. And so I think that is also something that that the Fever and the Fever fans have to keep in mind too.
Absolutely. I also don't know that last year's Fever team was necessarily set up to play this way. If you remember, they went into this season saying, well, they had Sid Colson as the only backup point guard, and they said that they were going to take care of that position by committee. And yes, they have some good ball handlers on that team, but clearly they have reneged on that strategy because they bring in Ty Harris, they draft Raven Johnson, who I will be talking about soon, and they're actually in a position now where you can have like a real point guard setting the offense and have Caitlin playing off of them. And you're right, she does have to actually do it as well, because there were moments where it was like when she didn't have the ball last year and she wasn't creating, she wanted it. And I wonder if that was a function or a directive or just like a feeling of I'm the only point guard on the floor right now. So hopefully playing with an actual other point guard will take some of that own like internalized pressure off of her as well. And you're right, she is incredibly strong. Like, I think she looks stronger this year. And one thing I've noticed is that just in this preseason is that like, while she might not have like the most lightning quick first step, she is using her strength a lot more. And the refs also are, I think they're emphasizing way more of like freedom of movement for guards. I think they're overcalling some things in the preseason, not just against Caitlin. I think like watching that Wings game yesterday was kind of a similar deal where I think that they're just trying to really get it into players' systems that this is a way that the game is going to be refereed now. So I think that will also kind of help her a little bit as well and just be like, let her be a little bit more unimpeded. But yeah, okay, so dude, title. Best thing that's ever happened to her? Come on. Like, what am I doing there? Like, this is actually like a pretty good take that I kind
of like it alone. It'll look great on a magazine cover.
Best thing that's ever, it's so wordy and it's so vague, and it's like she's in her third year. She's so young. Best thing that ever happened to her? There are so many things that could happen to her.
What could be better than that?
What could be better than playing off of the ball? Oh, it's so true. I like you love the beautiful game just as much as I do. You love egalitarian basketball.
I really do.
Okay. All right, what's your next one?
This one is like super inside baseball, but I actually feel like it's appropriate given the film that we just watched. I believe in this offseason, you have lost two different Ringer WNBA show guests to front office jobs. Is that right?
I have. Yes.
And so my
three. If you go back to last year, Mark Schindler as well is now working for the Tempo.
I wasn't sure about the
three. Yeah, but Kevin Pelton, who is now working for Houston, and Ben Pickman, who now works for Portland.
Right. And so my prediction is that we maybe lose another. Another fallen soldier joins the dark side, because I think we're going to keep seeing just teams staffing up. There are just going to be more like front offices to start with, and I think they'll be looking for people who have that institutional knowledge. So,
how do you feel about your institutional knowledge? Do you want to put your hat in the ring?
Look to your left, look to your right. One of you will be the Cleveland Rockers assistant GM next year. No,
I mean, you're a Detroit native.
Yes.
Would you want to work for the Detroit front office?
I don't. I just want to complain about. I'm so looking forward to just being a like actual fan of a WNBA team, and so I just want to rage post online.
I too prefer being on the sidelines. I'm more of a takesman than I am a decision maker.
Maybe I could have a best of both worlds. It's sort of like Colangelo like burner situation where I work for the team and then I'm just like
well, you have to leak everything to me.
Yes, absolutely. You're my first
and
call.
We could bring you on like we could like do like the voice box thing that like disguises your voice, and like the sunglasses could get even bigger.
I love it.
Yeah, we'll talk. But unnamed Detroit team,
another
please.
Another plot of the movie, right? Is Emily leaves for the other side, for the fashion side of it. And
See, I was thinking more Andy getting fired from her journalism job and going to work at a magazine where
she at least stays
in media. Yeah, I guess she stays in media. A very different kind of media, certainly. I think you're right. I think we're going to see a lot more of that. And to your previous point, perhaps some people who excel in the player development side of things. All right, my next one is Paige Beckers will be a top 3 MVP candidate this season. I have already gone really long and deep on everything that I'm excited for about the Dallas Wings this season, so I won't stick on the point too long. But the one thing that I love about Paige Beckers is that she has such a perfect game. Like, she can score from anywhere on the floor. She's got like the tightest handles. She is also one of those players, and this is maybe where the take lies. I think tales of Paige Becker's deference are old news at this point. It is a take that we actually perhaps need to retire. The notion that she is too unselfish for her own good. This is a player who last year, a third of her possessions came as the pick and roll ball handler. I think that she was top 7 amongst rookies all time in scoring last year, a decimal point ahead of her teammate Arike Ogunbowale, who is known for letting it fly, and less than a decimal point behind Caitlin Clark, with whom she's always seen as like being her more careful foil, right? I think those days with Paige are gone. I think she is absolutely letting it fly, and now she is alongside a coach who wants to make her even more efficient, wants to have her step out behind that 3-point line. Look, we love the mid-ranger. We love her ability in the mid-range, but we love efficiency more. And she was a 44% shooter on unguarded shoot threes last year. She's going to have the ball in her hands a ton. I think Dallas is going to play really fast. I think that they finally have like really good pick and roll targets around her as well. Like, she was one of the best pick and roll players last year, even though like her only target was Lee Riru, who came in at the mid-season trade, and then like everyone she had chemistry with just like kept getting injured. Now they have Jess Shep. Now they have Alana Smith. They got Lee back. They've definitely got some versatility. Awak Cure, we'll see what happens with her. Her teammate Easy Fudd, excellent spot-up shooter. They have the spacing. Urike's back. I think everything is in order for Paige Beckers to like cement herself as one of the best players in the WNBA. The place with this take that I am struggling is top 3 just feels like a bit. I mean, I feel like top 3 is accurate, but maybe it's not spicy enough. Maybe I sacrifice some accuracy for some hot take artistry, or just go straight up MVP. The problem is I don't actually think she's going to win the MVP award like Asia Wilson exists. However, I don't know. Is top 3? Am I being too careful?
I think that's bold, actually. Just
okay, it's bold enough.
Given how hard it is for a guard to like sniff MVP candidacy, or like the top of MVP ballots in a league that is just so stocked with like superstar 2-way 4s. I think that is plenty bold, and yeah, it's easy to forget maybe in the kind of muck that was the Wings season, but that was like one of the better ISO scoring seasons that we've seen. Like, Paige was really able to create for herself, and yes, I am like really high on the Wings actually, after like their front court just made me want to die for like 4 straight years. It is nice to finally see that they've fixed that.
Mm-hmm.
I liked that their off season wasn't, we can talk about this a little later, but it wasn't like, super flashy names or anything, but it was like, there was some addition by subtraction, but it was just like, what is the thing about our team that like really was not working? And can we, just by getting some like even replacement level or like decent players, I think they could have made a big difference, but they got some legit great options there.
We can talk about it right now. We can sacrifice a future bit. Let's talk about it.
Yeah. As you said, a lot of the movie was a lot of the fashion industry is like, you descend from high fashion into the knockoffs, and the Dallas Wings, being sort of just a knockoff of the Lynx front court, is a knockoff that I admire, because there's a reason that you copy the greats, right?
This straight up jack their style, like straight up just like at a higher price point. Basically, Alana Smith went from like, what's a company that's done this recently that's like scaled themselves up to being high fashion? She became like a Birkin bag that priced herself outside of Minnesota Lynx range, and the Dallas Wings decided to splurge on her, and they decided to get Jess Shep at the same time. That's genius.
And they've styled it well. I admire this knockoff very much.
Me too. Sensible pieces, sensible wardrobe pieces that are going to be part of your regular rotation.
Timeless classics.
Timeless classics. Absolutely. Versatile too.
Versatile. Yes.
Alana Smith, she can shoot threes, she can block shots, she can set screens for you, she can do a lot of different things for you as well. Jess Shep can do a little bit more for you than maybe you think as well. I like that. I have no notes. on that one. That's beautiful. All right, what's your next one?
Okay, that's my last. Sorry, I'm like combining a bunch of my things, so I'm just looking through my notes.
Oh, no worries.
Or stealing from my segment 2 takes. I didn't have any other just like straight up unaffiliated takes though. So
okay, all right.
If you want to do yours, we can.
Yeah. Okay, sweet. We'll just do that. All right. Okay. I'll go. Asia Wilson, and this is where I'm digging deep into the Basketball Reference stat finder specificity stuff. Asia Wilson will have the first 20-point, 10 rebound, 4 assist season in WNBA history. The con with this one is that it actually is not even that bold of a prediction. She averaged 23 and a half, 10 and 3 last year.
I feel like pretty safe.
Well, all she has to do is turn three points into 1 assist from last year. And the thing is, she gets better every year. She's been working on her playmaking. She's playing with really talented offensive pieces. I kind of just feel like she will, like in classic Asia Wilson fashion, she will make history and it will somehow feel ordinary.
Yes, that is her want, isn't it?
It is. The only person that's ever come close is Candace Parker, who in 16 games averaged 19, 10, and 6. I don't know what happened that season. Maybe she got hurt or something. I guess the only thing is I question whether she even should pass. She shoots just as well as on guarded shots as she does on unguarded ones, because she's just like that freaking good. But they're going to have a ton of offensive talent. So I don't know.
I remember in the first half of last season, sort of pre-Aces magically figuring everything out, there was like a moment where she said that she had sort of snapped at Chelsea and said that she should not have more assists than Chelsea. So perhaps she will adhere to that mindset once again.
Maybe. I think Chelsea Gray could be in for a bit of a renaissance season as well. She name-checked Rebecca Brunson as the only player who has more titles than her. Gray has 4 titles. I think that's the most out of any active WNBA player. And look, if they win a 5th, that puts her in. That probably makes her the greatest point guard of all time. It probably punches her up above Sue Bird. When you think about the fact that she will have won she's already won 2 titles with 2 different franchises. Like, you can already make the argument this would just be her saying, "It's me. I am the point guard." Speaking of point guards, this one I'm going to workshop a little bit. So I started off with Raven Johnson will break Tamika Catching's rookie record for total steals. The reason that this is a bit of a con is because she'll have 12 extra games to do it. All of the sort of like all-time stuff in WNBA history is kind of going to get bastardized by the fact that there are 44 games in the season now, and a lot of the great players in the past only had 32. But the problem is, I don't believe she will break Catching's per game record, so I can't go all the way there. However, where I might go is Raven Johnson is not in this season, might eventually be the first WNBA player in this decade to win the Defensive Player of the Year award while being a guard.
Wow. That's a little bold.
That's too much.
Me.
It's too much.
Yeah.
It's too much, right? So, okay, I have to stick with. Okay,
I believe Tamika Catchings in that season set the single game steals record, later broken because I think Tisha Panachero has 10. But I think Tamika Catchings was 9.
Yeah, Tisha has 10. Do we think Raven Johnson could do that?
Raven do that? I know. Gabby Williams came close, I want to say, last year. I remember she had
She did.
a crazy half, and then maybe because I remember eyeing the record thinking that she was going to do it, and then didn't have as many in the second half. But
I think it's in play. Raven has gotten to Indiana and kind of just turned into Hannah Hidalgo. Like, you just can't pass the ball around her. You have to kind of play away from her in a way, and we know she can guard all kinds of different players. She has a knack also for stealing back her own turnovers as well, like just the anticipation ability there and just like the get back as well. Could we see some chicanery? Could this be like the first ever season that, I don't think Raven Johnson's the type of player to do this, but could this be the first ever season where there's an opportunity for a player to try to get the steals record by turning the ball over and then just trying to take it back? Like the steals version of missing a shot to get your own rebound?
I've been thinking about this as a Pistons fan because I was admiring Cade Cunningham's rim protection, and I'm like, a lot of these are chase down blocks because he was like being dumb and saving his own turnover. So yes, I love the idea of steal farming.
I like that. I like the idea also of block farming by maybe you slow down in transition and you let the person think that they're going to get a layup before you just swat it out of the air.
Yeah, we need more inventive forms of stat padding.
Well, we need to scale it to other, we think about points and rebounds a lot. We need to assists. Russell Westbrook, where there's Rajon Rondo. That one is well known. But steals, blocks. If you wanted to get really nerdy with it, screen assists. Just start setting unnecessary screens, even when your offensive player doesn't need one. Although that kind of maybe puts them in a bad position. Yeah, this is something to think on.
That doesn't matter. That it's purely about stat farming, so we don't care about what it does to the broader ecosystem of the team.
Oh no, it's all about the numbers here, as is clear. The quality does not matter as long as those numbers are getting racked up, and we can make a headline that's like Lauren Betts could do this. Lauren Betts could end up being the rookie block leader as well. Simply by sheer will of 44 games versus 32. She's got Margot Didek, I think, ahead, and Brittany Griner is the two biggest pieces of competition there. But all of those might be a little bit cheapened, so I'm gonna workshop those. All right, let's take a little break, and then we'll move on to the second segment of the show. All right, okay, we are back for segment 2, where we are asking some trend-quoted questions. I'll start with you, Maitreyi. What is the latest WNBA trend that you think is just a passing fad?
You mentioned the game maybe being officiated differently based on the preseason, that freedom of movement seemed like it was being emphasized, a million different moving screens and stuff called lately. But I kind of am skeptical that this is a real change. Ooh. I think, like you said, it felt like maybe some overcorrection, and I would not be surprised if we found ourselves a month and change into the WNBA season and things were kind of as normal. I think some of it is just because there's been a lot of good reporting on the structural reasons that WNBA officiating is where it is, and why players are so dissatisfied with it, why coaches are so dissatisfied with it. And while I do think the league, does have some top-down power in terms of setting that stuff, I still think it'll take a little bit longer before we see
enlighten the listeners on some of these structural issues.
Yeah, just that WNBA referees aren't paid as well. That the pool is a little bit different. That it's good refs are maybe
always go to the
quote
NBA,
unquote promoted, right, to the NBA, even though they
make more money and they have benefits and a real salary.
Right. And so that stuff, I think, has to get fixed before it feels like there's a real functional reffing ecosystem. And so I also think, preseason is preseason for everyone, and everyone's still kind of just feeling stuff out. And so it's sort of like the video you always see of your center like hitting open threes in the gym. And you're like, yes. So, and then
is this
never see that
me watching Carl Smesko working with Angel Reese on her 3-point shot? Exactly, is this about me? Yeah.
So my own optimism there is a little tempered, I would say.
Okay. So I think that, yes, you're right. There are quality control issues that definitely need to be eked out. That won't be for a little while yet. Probably worth doing a follow-up on where all that sort of stuff stands as well. However, I do believe that the reffing union, I don't think that their CBA is actually up for another few years. So that definitely causes a snag. I do think, though, that the style of refereeing, like quality is one thing, but I do think that the style of refereeing is going to permanently shift. I just think that the players, the fans, everybody has spoken out about feeling like the game has just gotten too physical. I think obviously Nafisa Collier talked about that and a host of other things after she got hurt. And she's certainly not the only one as well. I think we're past the point of, oh, it's fine if it's all ref the same way. I think that there's just a degree of like, come on, dude. And I think that that's something that comes with the players actually being paid more money as well. And this can come with, once you over-index a little bit too much, it can get negative like it has with the NBA where you can't even touch a player. However, I think that with the NBA or WNBA, we're kind of at this point where like, okay, if we're paying these players millions of dollars, the institution itself is going to start to go out of its way to protect them more than they did in the past.
Yeah, and the just public pressure might now be a thing that, as ineffective as it seems in a moment, like there's a reason people yell at refs or make kind of big statements at press conferences between games in a series. Like you sort of want that to be living in the back of their head. And yeah, if I would not be surprised if that were kind of a big factor for them, or at least just the sort of mental kind of gamesmanship.
Yes,
actually working here, right?
Well, it always be they're human beings at the end of the day, and that sort of thing works on human beings. In my experience. Speaking of public pressure, I am going to get to my would you like lies? Would you like some lies with that? Segment. This is based on a meme that I thought was really funny because it seemed like it was an AI-generated meme in the movie, but they actually paid an artist to make an image that seemed AI-coded of Miranda Priestley working at McDonald's, the caption being, would you like some lies with that? I thought that was just a sort of like hilarious. Hilarious distillation of like AI
discovery.
Yeah.
And they nailed it too. Like the kind of when the artist posted like the full image, I could zoom in and fully appreciate it more. And it had this sort of like blurry, like fake letters in the background on the menu. And it's like, yes.
What does it say to you that it's one thing for AI to be stealing artists' work? What does it say to you that the AI canon and the AI style is also influencing the work of human artists?
I know. It's like a little too meta reciprocal for me.
It's tough. Like it's like kind of like when I see writing that is a little bit AI coded, I don't know whether to actually think that it's AI or if people are becoming so influenced by the M
I'm
dash.
Also, like, afraid when I use M dashes. I'm like, does this
I love an M dash
or the sentence construction where you're like, it's not blank, it's this. Could be the great ChatGPT tell. I'm like, I guess I can never use that again.
I know, and it's like there were times I didn't use it as much as AI uses it, but there were times when it made sense. And now I'm like, man, does it sound like I'm getting AI to write these articles for me? Stuff. So my would you like some lies with that, which is, essentially the biggest mainstream lie that we are debunking is the notion of Kathy Engelbert's job security being safe. I think that there's sort of an idea percolating that because the CBA has been done and it's being deemed a success in the sense that we aren't losing any games, that Kathy is safe. And I don't believe that to be the case. You mentioned refereeing. There are still a lot of things that need to be fixed in this league. I like that you're like adjusting your posture for this one. You're like, I can feel you locking in. I can see you locking in for this. I think that this is like kind of her victory lap year before she rides off into the sunset. Like she'll get her golden parachute, but the sense that I'm getting is that the future of the WNBA is going to be shepherded by somebody that the stakeholders believe have more of a long-term vision for what the league can be. And while Kathy deserves credit for getting the league to where it is, and there's also certainly some places where she deserves to take some of the blame, she is probably not that person. She was questioned on her own job performance.
I was going to say, this is a pretty anti-feminist segment of you.
Would I criticize a male commissioner? Do male commissioners get criticized? That's anyway.
Or asked how long they plan to stay in the job.
Yeah. So Kathy Engelbert was asked by Madeline Kenny of the New York Post about her job status, as there has been, by the way, no update on it. So it's a very valid question, especially given the amount of heat she has taken from players and anonymously from people around the league for the last year or so. I think it's more than a valid question. And as Kathy responded to it, saying, I wonder if you would ask this question to a woman. And I would say that she absolutely would. And while, look, I am not one to downplay sexism, I will say that as far as the treatment of commissioners goes, Kathy gets kid gloves compared to Adam Silver and Roger Goodell and Gary Bettman and Rob Manfred.
We need much louder
quite
boos
humane.
At the draft.
Yes,
before she.
Yes, these are educated guesses. This is not like, don't aggregate this. Basically, is what I'm saying. Susan Rice, famously the former UN ambassador and NSA advisor under Barack Obama. Women's basketball fan, aunt of Kiki
WNBA
Rice.
Aunt now. Yes.
WNBA aunt, yes. I was watching her tweet about UCLA and I was like, there's no way you went to UCLA. Like, you did not go to UCLA. She did not, but her niece Kiki Rice did. Would be obviously a slam dunk as far as like name recognition capability goes. Would be the easiest job that she's ever had. And would immediately be somebody that, Adam Silver would actually have to listen to her. Like, you can't bring Susan Rice into that job and then have her be a puppet master for the NBA. That's just simply not how it would work. Jen Rosati. She is currently the president of the Connecticut Sun. We'll see what happens with everybody at the Sun after the move happens with the Houston Comets. She was also somebody that was very active in CBA negotiations. And is part of the sort of Sun transition team, such as it is. She's a former player that I think players and people around the league believe that they can connect with. She's certainly somebody who has that sort of like reputation of being able to probably understand both sides of the aisle. Sue Bird, though many conflicts of interest there, is another name. She's the current Team USA director. She's a former player. She's also a current owner of the Seattle Storm. She has worn every single hat. If any of those circumstances were to change for her, I think she's somebody who certainly has the relationships and the communication savvy, and probably like a degree of the vision. All right, those are my first three names. Any thoughts?
So the Susan Rice one interests me because when you mentioned just like long-term vision for the league, I thought of something that Kathy Engelbert said. This would have been 2 drafts ago, so 2025. What year is it? 2025, the Page draft.
Mm-hmm.
And I can't even remember the exact question. I think it was something like, what happens or maybe this was just something she brought up in her answer, which is like, what is the priority after the next CBA? Because the CBA just felt like it was the thing, like that all roads were leading to, that it was just, it was hard to kind of look past it and see what the next league priority would be. And she mentioned just like global interest in the game and growing the game globally. And, we've seen some more like international games being floated. We have our first team in Canada now after some games in Canada. And so I'm curious to see like how that priority takes shape. And so, someone like Susan Rice, or just someone who has kind of she specifically is
global
like
ambassador,
ex-diplomat, right?
Yes.
Was the ambassador to the UN also, and like just someone like it could be someone from her background, or just like someone who has more like global business ties, I think might be interesting. And I think if Kathy were to leave, I think just the next pick would tell us a lot about what the NBA, what the owners see as like the next big frontier for the league. My question, I guess, about the job security question. So do you think this is like her riding off in the sunset, like my job is done? Or do you think it's like an actual, you are being pushed out here? Like I'm not sure
I think
what the
sometimes
departure would
I think
would
sometimes
actually
people
look
agree to resign from their posts.
like. A mutual parting of ways.
A mutual parting of ways.
Phrase we see in
yes,
sports
exactly,
so much.
exactly. All right, 3 more for you.
All right.
Swin Cash, executive experience in the NBA with the Pelicans. Another player with great relationships, a former player, good communicator. Someone, if you watch her media appearances, certainly knows how to communicate information and actually tell you something while also maintaining poise as well, which is obviously important for the position. Bethany Donovan, she's Kathy's number 2. She has had the reputation of being somebody who could walk both aisles. I don't know how much of that reputation has sustained itself through the course of CBA negotiations and the last year, especially as it pertains to refereeing, which is something that she was kind of overseeing on a larger scale. And I think that there were some communication issues there. I think Fee name checked her as like the number 2 who reached out. So maybe she was that sort of, she maintains that position of like the liaison because she's someone who knows how to communicate well with the players and has that gentler touch. And maybe she's kind of somebody who also the owners know that she knows how to play ball in the other way as well, because ultimately this is going to be somebody that the owners appoint, who works for the owners. The other one that I have is Kia Clark, the current CEO of the New York Liberty. She is the business architect of a team that has more than any other one in the league been able to connect with and build an organic fan base. She doesn't have the player experience, but she certainly seems able to connect on some of a level. And the visionary aspect of this, the ability to build the business of what the future of the WNBA can look like. It should probably look a lot like the New York Liberty. Just their ability to connect with, grassroots identity-based aspects of what makes the WNBA cool in a way that has actually felt cool is something that I don't think everybody else has like necessarily been able to do. But you go to a Liberty game, you have Ellie. Like, Ellie is probably the biggest needle mover in the league.
I assume that's the next name on your list.
Ellie as commissioner would actually make a ton of sense. That would make a ton of sense. I think I
you can't offend anyone if you just don't talk, right? And only dance. You can only charm people really from here.
I think that she would be a charmer, but also the footsteps of giants. Truly, there's an intimidation factor. If Ellie was, stomping into the conference room, I just think that, if I was in that meeting, I would be my shoulders would definitely be clenched a little bit.
The literal elephant in the room. I love it.
I think the elephant.
I think we've
brings
solved
a nice,
it.
Yeah, it brings a nice touch to the room. I like that. All right. What is your? I hope that's not what you're wearing to the dinner, aka the choice that has confused you the most.
So today we got some news that the Sky just signed Natasha Cloud, and she had been kind of in limbo for a little bit. There was some just kind of grumbling about where she was going to end up, and I didn't expect it to be Chicago. A lot of it had to do with just the type of player Natasha Cloud is. I thought that it would probably be best for her to go somewhere that needs like a one. And I don't think the Sky are really that team. I have to kind of applaud them here for being like, we had no point guards last year, therefore we need to have all the point guards this year. Like I get being scarred by the situation they found themselves in last year, but I am kind of wondering like what the rotation looks like, who's starting. This is now a really like big guard group or crowded guard group. And if only there was some like mechanism where you had to give up your players to another team this offseason. Certainly they wouldn't have like just opted out of that, or more than opted out of it, purposely tried to stay out of that, right? So I'm not sure about this one.
So before I say anything about the Chicago Sky, I have to debut what is going to be a season-long, segment in the podcast, wherein every time I say anything mean about the Chicago Sky, I have to contribute $10 to this Chicago Sky swear jar. Well, I'm trying to really incentivize myself to pick my spots when it comes to having mean things to say about the Chicago Sky. Well, it's going to eventually it will go to a Chicago-based charity or mutual aid group that I have not picked yet. Also very open to listener suggestions on that one. But yes, I don't know if you know this about me. I'm a very generous, magnanimous person that is trying very, very hard not to say mean things about the Chicago Sky, or at least, be better about when I pick my spots. This, however, is news. So, with that in mind, I will be making my first donation today, and we can go from here. The point that you were getting at was that the Chicago Sky made trades with the Portland Fire and the Toronto Tempo to have them agree to not take any of their players in the expansion draft in exchange for a second-round pick and a second-round pick trade. One of those players, one would think, was Haley Van Lith, who was waived earlier today. Now, maybe this is part of the developmental player roster spot thing, too. To get a developmental roster spot, players are being waived. So you first have to go through the humiliation ritual of being waived, and then somebody creating a graphic that says waived about you before your team signs you back onto developmental contract. I don't know if Chicago's used up their developmental contract slots, so maybe that's still in play. Maybe we'll see HVL on a developmental contract. I don't know. But she had a good preseason. She's going into her second year. However, there's obviously still a lot of questions about her viability in the WNBA. They waive her. They use that roster spot to sign Natasha Cloud, who I like Natasha Cloud. I wonder, there's a lot of guards. Like you said, are we layering too much on the top? Are we not following the Coco Chanel mantra of before you leave the house, take one piece of jewelry off? Is this just too much? Like, maybe you just need more pants. Maybe you need like more, like, I think you keep getting the same shirt. and that can work. You can wear them together. You can have Skylar Diggins, Natasha Cloud, JC Sheldon, Dejanay Carrington in some sort of like ultra small lineup where nobody can pass the ball into the post. I don't know that that's sustainable all the time, but there are certain nights if you want to put that shit on. Yeah, I get it. I don't know that it's sustainable for 44 games. At a certain point, I start wondering about the front court. You can only do you want Camila Cardoso, Rikia Jackson, great pairs of pants. Do you want to wear them out so early? Do you want to work some other things into your rotation there? Also, there's a Sloot piece. So when she's back, she's sharing the point guard position with Skylar and Natasha Cloud. How's she feeling about this? Did she sign off on this?
Yeah, presumably if she's the shadow GM of the team, then
one would hope.
She probably masterminded the thing. But yeah, I'm not sure I get it. It's the spacing part of this too. Like you have all these backcourt options, but like I don't even know how many of them like work great together. And it is now like one of the older, if not the oldest, like point guard rotations in the league now. I guess the Sparks guard group is maybe challenging them there, but yeah, this is I'm not sure how to work, but we'll see. We'll see.
You mean the Sparks guard group is younger by a measure as well? Speaking of the Sparks, they are my... Oh, wait, one more question on Chicago. So obviously, like, they wanted to make the playoffs this year, right? I had them at 10th. Do you think that this pushes them over the edge? Do you think that this moves the needle for them?
Yeah, I'm just not really sure it does. I think I get the excitement. And, like, there are things that, whatever this guard group looks like in the end, like there were things they were very bad at last year. One of them was turning the ball over a lot, and so like I can see the need to have multiple ball handlers on the team or on the court at the same time. But there's still like the thing that I'm always just wary of in any off season, which is just when you like sign a bunch of players that people have heard of, and so then everyone is like excited about
Chicago
it.
had a great offseason.
Yeah, exactly. And then you're like, does this actually work? And is that actually the like the Sky are the sort of team where I feel like because all of their I guess they're not having any issues this free agency, but like they're the sort of team where just given their situation and kind of struggles to keep great players, the sort of team you would love to see have like a Phoenix style operation where they're good at finding players you have not heard of and like getting the most out of them. And I feel like they're doing like the opposite now, and it's a lot of names, but I'm just not sure it works as a team.
They are like scrolling through Google images of last year's trends and buying the like statement pieces of all of them and thinking that that's how you like construct an outfit or a team. I don't know that they necessarily had like the free agency of they had a better free agency than I think I imagined them having. But I think that there's some parallels in the types of players that they got that are a little bit telling. Now, Natasha Howard was somebody who was unsigned, surprisingly, for a very long time, and there was some speculation as to whether that was because her activism, because of her support for Palestine, perhaps because of how active she was as a player in the CBA negotiations. She name-checked an owner in Ginny Gilder in an Instagram live that she did. I think that latter part might, have something to do with why she wasn't signed. I just don't think owners like being mentioned. And there is a sort of, unfortunately, a class solidarity amongst them. I don't know that the activism aspect of it was like as well founded, although with there's 15 decision makers, I'm like, yes, like I could see some of them not being as into that, but we know that this is a league that, welcomes that, and there have been other players that have been active and spoken out that are on teams right now. However, with Natasha Cloud, it's like she was traded from Phoenix in a way that was like absolutely brutal. Like she's like attracting free agents and then gets like kicked out of the door. She has a right to be pissed about that, but that is not like an avenue for her. Connecticut is not an avenue for her. New York was a team that she was just on. Washington she played for, and I think had some things to say when she left there as well. The Chicago Sky also signed Skylar Diggins, who was outspoken about how she was treated during her pregnancy when she was with the Phoenix Mercury. Also outspoken about her experiences on the Dallas Wings. Dejanay Carrington is also certainly a player who's outspoken as well. And I think that Chicago has like a love-hate relationship with these kinds of players. Like they love the toughness and they love having a defensive identity. They love players that push each other. They hate when those players push them or speak out about them. And it's like, I don't know that you can get like, if there's almost like you need to be able to play on that level then. Like if you want fiery players, if you want players that are going to speak their minds, and you also have to have thicker skin than you do as an organization. And I am very curious to see how all of that shakes out as well.
Yes, however the on-court product looks, they'll be an interesting team, which is all you can hope for as a media member.
This is true. They will give us things to talk about, AKA.
Yes.
AKA they will be making me broke. All right. I hope that's not what you're wearing to dinner was the Valkyries sort of draft trade situation. They traded Flau'jae Johnson to the Seattle Storm for Marta Suarez and a second-round pick. Flau'jae Johnson has looked fantastic in the preseason, by the way. And Marta Suarez has since been waived. Again, could be added to a developmental roster spot, so we don't know how that one is going to shake out. They're having media day tomorrow where Ohema Nyanin, the GM, will be speaking, and there was a moment where it sounded like maybe she wasn't going to be speaking. I'm not sure if that was a miscommunication or a reread on a situation, realization that she does need to be talking about some of these decisions. She absolutely flubbed the press conference afterwards when she could have just simply said, hey, we really like Marta. We're high on her. We're excited to have her in the door. Instead, she says she's exhausted, which everybody was, and she doesn't want to comment on strategy or the particulars of players and the decisions that they made. I don't think it was, but it made it sound like it was a veiled shot at Flau'jae, which was even worse because of the context, the half an hour context in which Bay Area fans, Black Bay Area fans, who have felt abandoned by the sports franchises that they root for in the past 5 to 10 years. You have the Warriors moving out of Oakland, which is I think the blackest city in the Bay Area, to San Francisco. A lot of fans being priced out of those tickets. You had the Oakland A's are just gone now. The Valkyries also play at the Chase Center too. And for a brief second, it felt like the Valkyries were not only making a great draft selection, but by taking Flau'jae Johnson, speaking to the culture of the Bay Area, the potential of an E40 collaboration, everything that she could mean to that fan base. And then they just like pulled the rug out from under them. And for a trade that already was kind of bad, and now that they've waived Marta Suarez as well, and there's just no way to make this look good. There's obviously the optical aspect of it sucks because I think that they had agreed on the trade beforehand. They didn't know it was going to be Flau'jae. But if you agreed on the trade beforehand, why? Why did you agree beforehand on a trade that you thought like that you're giving up a first rounder for basically 2 second rounders? Like that's just not really a very good return. Or you just mismanage your roster spots and now you have to waive a player that you just gave up a whole bunch of draft capital for. Or you didn't agree to the trade beforehand, but you got to 8 and there's nobody you liked on the board, even though the board shook out in a very predictable way and you probably could have guessed at like some of the players that you were into. I imagine they were probably into like an Aina Martin. If they didn't want the roster spot or like to pay a first round pick, they could have gone draft and like there was just no way that like tactically or optically that this looks good at all.
Yeah, it's a bit of a mess. I thought back to right after their expansion draft, which was also kind of panned, and then ended up working out. And I was like, this feels like the sort of thing where, like, now they sort of get like extended grace or have this halo of like they know better than everyone else. And it's possible that is what's happened, but like now I don't really see it here. And so
yeah,
I will be kind of keeping a closer eye on their
I expect them to be
good,
but sometimes teams are good despite themselves as well.
Yeah, I think that's the best way to put it, is like sometimes it's not necessarily like a real mad scientist thing here. Mm-hmm. Sometimes people just they make mistakes and figure it out in the end.
Yeah,
it's not a product of the mad scientist maneuverings.
No, not always. You don't need to get everything right. You can get a bunch of stuff right, and it actually does give you some leeway to get some stuff wrong. Because like as a franchise, they're still in a decent spot. Who is your WNBA glow up pick? Who do you expect to or want to see the biggest glow up out of in this 30th season, where money and sponsors are all involved and investing and ready to get this rocket ship off the ground?
Yeah, an off-season move that caught my eye was the Lynx hiring Rachel Galligan, who was a like great writer and podcaster, and was always like a good follow for me. I guess this is part of the media member to front office pipeline, but the Lynx hired her as an international scout. Cheryl Reeve specifically said that like one of her asks of the newish team's ownership, the Lori and A-Rod, was, you know, that type of investment, and that's something that I would be eager to see more teams kind of make similar investments in scouting. I think the Lynx have been a pretty solid pro scouting team the last couple of years, and so it's nice to see a team. Rather, I think it's easy when you have a successful like get a off season like the one where they got Alana Smith and developed Bridget Carlton to like get really high on themselves, and to actually like keep making investments in those strengths is encouraging to me, and I think a good sign. And so I'd love to see more teams do stuff like that, because I still feel like there is great talent out there that we haven't quite that no front office is quite like tapped all the potential out there.
There's a lot of low-hanging fruit out there. Like you look at what the Phoenix Mercury did last year, where I didn't know who Monique Okoomokani or Khadijah Alexa were, right? And I wasn't aware of Kathy Westfeld's development. And they bring those three players in, they bring Lexi Held in, and that ends up shaking out a rotation that after they signed 3 stars, we were really worried was not going to have enough depth. Here the Mercury are again with another bunch of players who like don't have a page on ESPN or like a headshot yet, and I'm gonna be withholding my judgment until I actually see them play, and it makes me really nervous to even like I think I have them like 9th on my power rankings, and I'm like nervous about it because I'm like, what if all of those players end up being absolute gamers? And there's a lot of that potential out there for like other teams to take. Like I think the Liberty are a team that have done a pretty good job at it. They always have some international players. It's also a huge advantage to sign players internationally in this particular CBA because when they become free agents, they are reserve role players or they're on reserve deals, which gives teams exclusive negotiating rights. It's why the Liberty were able to exclusively negotiate with some of their players. The Mercury were able to exclusively negotiate with some of their players as well. And that is something that, I mean, that's like the sort of next great sort of thing that will probably be a conversation in the 2030 CBA is how do we get rid of those reserve contracts? Because like a lot of those players are going to end up being like criminally underpaid. And yeah, like it's just such an advantage. It's such an advantage.
It is.
Yeah.
It's huge.
Yeah.
And even just those advantages generally, like I think I've maybe even said this to you or on this podcast because this is something I'm talking about all the time and won't shut up about, but I feel like practice facility has sort of become this shorthand for ownership investment or like front office savviness, and totally agree that facilities are important, that they're worth investing in, but we're kind of now at the point where that's just like that's the norm, right?
Yeah.
Like every team has already done that. It's so last season. And so I think the smart front offices out there and smart organizations and organizations that have the requisite owner buy-in and investment resources, like they're always going to be kind of thinking about advantages like that. And so this was an interesting hire to me because I think and hope it kind of presages some more of that.
It's good insight. All right. So I'm sure you're chomping at the bit at this point. We talked a lot of basketball. What did you think of The Devil Wears Prada 2?
It was good. At first, I was like, is this just like cheap nostalgia bait to like get a theater to clap at Meryl Streep showing up on screen? And probably yes, a little bit. But on the whole, I thought it was sweet. The cast, they're so good that it's just hard for them to like screw anything up. I was not feeling the love interest, though. That is actually in keeping with the first movie. I come from a family of like real haters of the Adrian Grenier boyfriend character. So
real ones.
Yes. So I guess that was actually not a real departure from. I mean, this guy didn't seem like awful. He was just
bland
fine,
in similar
whatever.
ways.
Kind of forgettable.
I feel like the movie's like I really enjoyed the movie, and I think that they actually, for as much as they could have leaned into the IP branding exercise bastardization of the original that we've seen take place with so many great movies, like I thought they were reasonably restrained and tasteful about it. Like the only one I really didn't like was at the end where she was wearing the cerulean sweater.
I was gonna ask.
Because it just didn't
the
fit.
Nostalgia bait.
It was.
Well, she had the sleeves cut off.
Yeah,
it
but
was
like
a little modified.
It just wasn't something that modern day Andy would have worn. It was the worst outfit that she wore. And like she was wearing like all these dark colors, and like her style had clearly evolved past the cerulean sweater. Like I just don't think that we needed to see it again. I think that could have just been like a monument to the first movie.
Were there any favorite fits of yours in the film?
The assistant, Simone Ashley, her every single outfit.
She got some great ones, especially in they had another montage, like the gray montage from the first movie. They had another montage in which Simone Ashley figured, and I thought she got some good looks in that one.
Yeah, I don't think she missed a single outfit. I think like I enjoyed some of the nostalgia bait. Like I hate fan service until I'm the fan, you know? Like that's when I'm like,
servicing me.
If they're servicing me, it's fine. Like I was watching the movie at the Grove in LA. And when Lady Gaga came on the screen, me and a row full of gay men just gasped. Like audibly gasped. I thought that was a fun reveal. And like, well, I think the first Devil Wears Prada, it was very hard for them to get cameos. Everybody was like very scared of Anna Wintour. That's something that Sean and Amanda talked about on the Big Pick podcast. And I think this time around they would have had like their pick of the litter, right? Like everybody would want to be in this movie. And I think that they were like pretty good with who they chose. Like I think like we got like obviously a ton of people in the fashion industry, but like the random celebrity cameos, like John Batiste.
We got a basketball one.
We got Karl Anthony Towns.
Wait, so here's my question. What series was she talking about, do we think? She said it was a great series.
I mean, was it like pre-manifesting a great playoff series? Because we know that Anne Hathaway is a huge Knicks fan.
Maybe.
Was she like talking about Knicks Hawks in like the present sense? Like, was that because they knew that the movie was going to come out around the time of like the first round of the playoffs.
She really called her shot there.
Called her shot.
She knew.
Called her shot. I like that. That's smart. Kara Swisher, like the tech signaling journalist, I thought was fun as well.
More nostalgia bait, but it was nice to see the twins, the grown-up twins from the first movie, were at that same party with Karl Anthony Towns and Kara Swisher.
Oh, I didn't catch that. that. Oh, that's
it was like they didn't have any speaking parts or anything, but you could see them in the cuts of to all the different celebs.
That was a fun Easter egg. That was definitely a fun Easter egg. Like you, I did not care for the love interest. Like the first movie, I did not care for that love interest either. There's just a sense of like, other than Nigel, who's played by Stanley Tucci, like, what is a man doing here? What is a man doing here? Like, you don't bringing any, like, there's no romantic tension between you. There's more romantic tension between, like, her and Emily Blunt and her and, like, Meryl Streep, her and Nigel than there is between her and this man. And, like, they do the same forced banter stuff. Like, you cannot, like, they try to get you to care about Adrian Grenier with a fucking, like, a grilled cheese sandwich. I don't care about that man. I don't want to see that man in this movie. I actually thought that'd be like one of the upgrades, because I feel like the movie did a really good job of like the update from like 2006 to 2026 overall, with like the state of the media industry, just the way that people act and dress now, like the way that media is consumed, the memes of Miranda I thought were awesome as well. But like I just saw like this version of this movie, I just don't think that like the Andy and the Andys that I know in my life like really need a man to be fulfilled.
No, it felt a little tossed in there. So
yeah,
in praise of one man, unfortunately, I did enjoy it. Justin Theroux seemed like he was having fun with his little like Jeff Bezos character. It wasn't like a super meaty role or anything, but he made the most of it.
I thought that was awesome. Justin Theroux, like, as a facially reconstructed billionaire. There was, like, a way in which it was almost in conversation with Succession. I think there was a point where he even said, like, I don't even know anyone named Kendall. While he's, like, the billionaire that's being mocked relentlessly through the course of the movie for, like, I don't know, like, for, like, reinventing his face. Which is also a strange critique coming from the fashion industry. But I don't think, I mean, there's a nuance, and it's kind of, like, one of the strengths of both of the movies. But I also think one of the flaws is that, like, I don't think either movie really knew what it wanted to say about consumerism or ambition. Like, it just offers a lot of different takes on it and then lets you sort of decide what you want to take from it. Which is fine. But, I mean, hey,
it's fun.
It's fun.
It's the Devil Wears Prada.
It's the Devil Wears Prada. It's not really necessarily where I'm going for that. The BJ Novak character also just like in like the Patagonia sweater vest, like
premium athletic wear, golf apparel. I love it.
Just the classic attire of a consultant who is going to completely gut your company. Like if somebody comes in to your workplace wearing that, just like
it's over.
It's done. Like pack your boxes up. It's done. It's done. Yeah. But fun movie though. I just like going to the theater.
I had fun. Yeah. I also like going to the theater. I was thinking as I walked out that I should go to the movies more because I've gotten bad about that in the last couple of years. But it was a good theater movie too.
It was a good theater movie. There were a lot of bells and whistles like at the Grove, which naturally, of course. But I love like watching people leave a movie theater, like the sort of like they're readjusting their eyes and faces to like the world with a new perspective. They're like talking to their friends. There's like almost like a sleepy sort of feeling to watching people leave the movie theater that I've always enjoyed.
They left and they were like, journalism does matter.
Is that what they wanted us to take away from it?
They were like, print is so back.
And print is so back. We found the right billionaire, and we are so back. One of my friends who I saw the movie with didn't like it because they didn't feel like the emotional stakes were quite there. But I feel like that's kind of just like the reality of like creating things in 2026. So
Yeah,
that's like the quality. That's a point.
Also,
the quality
something nice about
work.
how uncertain they felt afterward. Like, it still didn't feel like they were on totally stable ground, and they probably were not, just being in the media industry. And so if again, it felt very uncomfortably true to the industry. I appreciated that accuracy.
I did appreciate that aspect of it. Although, like, they tried to stick the landing in a way with Miranda, like softening her character as well. It was like, I can't, no. Like, in every universe, Miranda's the villain and Emily's the hero. Like, I don't care that she betrayed her. She is well within her rights to do so. All right. Thank you, Maitreyi. I appreciate you coming onto the show. You can read her work at The Defector. Watch out for her book coming out in 2027, You Can't See Me, Inside the New Golden Age of Women's Basketball, that chronicles the power shift and how players are valued in women's basketball. Thank you to Chris Sutton, Donald LoBianco, Alexa Coubal, Stephen Allman, and Ben Cruz for all of the production assistance and making this show happen every week. If you want to listen to our other preview content, we power ranked every team over the course of 3 episodes, 5 teams per episode, and we will be back on Thursday for more season preview talk as well as some MVP chatter. We talked Rookie of the Year last week with Steve Jones. If you want to hear some actual experts talk about The Devil Wears Prada, listen to The Big Picture. Sean Fennessy and Amanda Dobbins went deep on that movie. That was a really fun listen. And for now, that's all.